Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to our midweek live stream. Hope you're doing well and have a good day. If you're popping on, just shoot me a comment and let me know that you're joining us. So kind of interesting. We've been in the book of Genesis this week. We're reading through the Bible as a church, and so we've got this little card. I keep it in my Bible, and so we're starting like a 6-week exploration in the book of Genesis, and then after that, we're going to hit up Colossians, and then we're going to kind of bounce back and forth. We're trying to read the Bible, most of the New Testament and Old Testament passages over the next 3 years. And we're in Genesis. It's kind of cool because like there's some overlap between things that we're talking about as a church and some things that we're seeing in our culture and what we're reading in the Old Testament. But there was this one story that I wanted to share with you and just get your feedback, get your input on, and get your thoughts on. So it's going to be in Genesis. I'm going to pull up this restream thing. I want to make sure that it's working. I can see your chats. I can see your comments and all that kind of stuff. So if you're on it, and if you're even watching this live, I don't know if anybody's really even watching it. Who knows? It's not my job to worry about whether people watch it or not. It's my job to just tell you about Jesus. If you want to watch it, great. If you don't, all good. So if you're watching this later, hit share. Let people know that I'm doing it every Wednesday. Every Wednesday at 3 we go live. But anyway, I was reading, and there's a story about this guy named Abram, and God just pretty much chooses Abram completely for no other reason than God's grace. He just says, Abram, I'm going to develop a whole nation from you, and that's ended up being the nation of Israel. And everybody in that nation, I'm going to bless that whole nation, and then through you, I'm going to bless the whole world. That was kind of the idea. So this guy Abram, he says, out of you, I'm going to make a huge nation of people. I'm going to bless this nation, and then through that nation, all the nations of the earth are going to be blessed. That was kind of the original plan for God to bless the world and redeem the world, right? And so he calls Abraham out of obscurity. He renames him, and he promises him a son, right, in which he will have heirs that will the whole world will be blessed. Here's the problem, though, is that Abram is old and his wife has been barren. So Abram has no kids, and God actually changed his name from Abram to Abraham, which means father of many. And so, like, problem is that he doesn't have anybody that he can have an heir to, right? So there's no possible way. So he's old, his wife is barren. And so they're not trusting God in this moment. And his wife said, why don't you take a concubine? Why don't you take a mistress? And through that mistress, then you can have children, and that's how we'll accomplish God's goal. Now, I also thought it was really interesting that God chooses Abram, knowing that he's going to do this, he's going to be disobedient and not trust him. And so Abram disobeys God. He takes a concubine named Hagar, and they have a child, and the child's name is Ishmael. And then we get to Genesis 16, and Abram's wife becomes really jealous, right? Her name is Sarai. And Sarah becomes really jealous of Hagar because Abram took this concubine and had a child, and of course Sarah was barren, right? So she gets really jealous of the concubine because the concubine was able to have kids and she's not. So this is what she says. It says, and when Sarah saw that this woman, this concubine, had conceived, Sarah looked on Hagar with contempt. He turns to his wife, and this is what he says, a jerk move. He says, but Abram said to Sarai, behold, your servant is in your power to do with you as you please. Then Sarah dealt harshly with Hagar, and then Hagar fled from Sarah. And so pretty much Abram, he disobeys God. He has sex with someone that's not his wife. He's trying to accomplish God's will for his life without like trusting that God's going to do it, right? So he's trying to get an heir, and he doesn't trust that God's going to actually overcome his old age and his wife's barrenness. And so he disobeys God. And he has sex with one of his concubines and his wife's servant, Hagar. And Hagar gets pregnant, but surprise, surprise, his wife gets jealous and starts treating her really harshly. And this gets up to Abram, and Abram just pretty much passively throws up his hands. He's like, well, she's your servant. Do with her what you want to. Like, he takes no ownership. He takes no responsibility. And he's just a total jerk to this poor concubine that pretty much had no choice in the matter. and that this is who God chooses to like create a nation out of and bless the world. So what I really want to focus on is Hagar. So what she does is she runs away. Hagar runs away from her mistress Sarah and her baby daddy Abram. And it says in Genesis 16, and the angel of the Lord by in the wilderness, and the spring was on the way to Shur. So it's moving away from Abram, moving away from his terrible wife Sarah. Like, just you just imagine what she's feeling. Like she's a slave. She's had no choice in the matter. And, you know, Sarah wanted this woman Hagar to be pregnant with her husband's offspring so they could accomplish the will of God. Didn't trust God. Abram just doesn't care what happens to her, and Sarah is really jealous of her. So she's running away, obviously. And she's going away. And in verse 8 it says, this angel said, Hagar, servant of Sarah, where have you come from and where are you going? And she said, I'm fleeing from my and her mistress and submit to her. Well, that doesn't seem very loving. Like, why would you return to the people that are hurting you and abusing you? Then the angel of the Lord also said to her, I will surely multiply your offspring, so they cannot be numbered from the multitude. And the angel of the Lord said to her, behold, you are pregnant, and shall bear a son, and you shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has listened to your affliction. He shall be a wild donkey of a man, his hand against everyone, and everyone's hand against him, and he shall dwell over all his kinsmen. So pretty much the angel says, hey, you need to go back and submit to the people who are in authority over you. But guess what? I'm going to also make your child, your son, have a number of offspring so they cannot even be numbered. You're going to have a credible legacy in this world because of the work of your son. I'm going to give you incredible prodigy, and they're all going to, you are, and I'm going to bless him. And then the angel of the Lord also tells her to name her son's name Ishmael. Now, some of you might have a little asterisk next to his name. It means God hears. That's what it means. So he says, hey, you need to go around and go back to this terrible situation, but your son's going to have a ton of kids, and they're going to be a great nation, but they're going to experience conflict in their life. But then he says, I want you to name your child God hears. And then it says in verse 13, so she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her, you are a God of seeing. For she said, truly here I have seen him who looks after me. Therefore, the well that she was at was called Bir Lahairoi, between Kadesh and Beer. It says, hey, you need to go back, but there's something to have this. We're going to call his name Ishmael. And then she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her, you are a God of seeing. And there's another way to say it, or you are a God who sees. And I just was, guys, like, it seems like such an unjust situation. And I don't know if you know Myers-Briggs at all, but I'm an ENFJ. And the J stands for justice. And I long for justice. I long to see justice happen. It seems like I happened to this woman who had no choice to be the concubine of an absolute jerk. Got jealous of her, and she's trying to run away to get a better life for her and her kid. And the angel stepped up and says, hey, no, you gotta go back. But then he says, God is hearing you. And your son is going to carry the legacy that God hears you. And your son's going to bear the name, the God who hears. And then she says, this is the God, the name of the Lord is, you are a God who sees me. You are a God who sees me. And then, not only that, she says, for truly here I've seen him who looks after me. So then she feels like the God is looking after her. And then the well that she met is Ber Lahairoi, and it literally means well of the living one who sees me. The well of the living one who sees me. My friends, I don't know if you're like me, but a lot of times I don't see it often. I feel really frustrated and stressed out, and sometimes I feel like, does God really see all the things I'm doing for him? Sometimes I feel like I'm in the desert. Sometimes I feel like I'm trying my best to do the things that God wants me to do, and they don't seem like they're working out the way that I want them to. And I just feel very stressed and anxious and frustrated. I'm like, God, like, where are you? And when we take some time to rest, when we take some time to focus, what we find is that God is there, that God sees us, and that He is a living God who sees us, just like that well. The well that she said, the well of the living one who sees me. And we have an incredible opportunity to come to the fountain of living waters. We have the incredible water to come to Jesus, who loves us, who gives us life, who gives us freedom, and who truly does see us. And not only does He see us when we're frustrated and upset, but He sees us when we sin and when we're in pain and when we're rebelling against His will for us. And God still loves us, and He still cares about us, and He still takes care of us. And what He does is He sees you and me for everything that we truly are. And He still loves us just the same. And He meets us. He meets us where we are, just like He met Hagar where she was, running away from her mistress, running away from her baby daddy that didn't care about her. And God will often tell us to do things that we don't want to do. But He always gives us deeper. I know. Not only that, He promised. He's like, hey, look, I see you, and I'm also going to make your name great, and I'm going to make your kid's name great. And like, your kid's not going to be obscure. Your kid's not going to be forgotten. And actually, we're going to find next week's reading that there's another experience where Hagar is sent away into the wilderness less than a year after this experience, and God meets with her again. But I just want you to know today that God sees you. He loves you. He cares for you. He is not distant from you. He is close to you. And, all we have to do is really just take a few minutes to meditate, to pray. And He truly does reveal Himself to us. And He knows who we are, the situations that we're in. So I don't know about you, but that gave me some comfort this week. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. So it doesn't look like we have too many people sharing comments or questions. And so I'm just going to leave it at that. But I just wanted to let you know, this is what stuck out to me this week. We have a God who sees us. We have a God who hears us. We have a God who's present with us, regardless of where we are or what we're doing. And I hope you find that encouragement this week. So we're doing our live stream on Sunday at 10 a.m. Across all of our platforms. I promise it's not going to be an hour this week. It'll be a little shorter than that. This past Sunday was a little long. I'm trying to get the sermons a little bit shorter. And so we're going to be watching that together live, and then we're going to do a live Q&A at 11 a.m. So I love you guys. I look forward to you. And if you want anything, you need anything, just shoot us a text, 931-326-4512. So the text message is 931-326-4512. If you need anything, if you need help, if you need assistance, if you want to get connected in a group, we got all that stuff going on. We'd love to see ways that we can serve you. Love you guys. Take care. Bye.